Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations and welcome to my Stamp Happy Holidays series. Today I have several cards for you, 6 to be exact, and each and every one of these cards was made with bits and pieces. And yes, scraps, and also things I haven't used in a while, like for instance, these 2 cards were made with washi tape, and this card I used the floating image technique, which takes an acetate sheet or a window sheet, and I have not used those in a while. So some other things here, you might see some embellishments, and there's a couple dies I haven't used in a while, but I was just really surprised at all the little things I had here and there that I could be using that for some reason I'm just collecting. So that's how these cards came about. And the first one I want to talk about is a really easy to make card, and it really doesn't take any special die or anything. It just takes some scraps and, as you can see, a greeting. And then I do have these little iridescent snowflakes, but that tree, I call that it's an isosceles triangle, but I call that like the kindergarten tree, because all little kids that I ever had in my classes, this is the kind of tree they would draw at Christmas time. And that's from ages 3 up to 6, even 7. And it was just really fun to watch them draw their triangle trees and put the ornaments on it. So I suppose this tree is inspired by all those children. So, but it takes no die, and all it takes is a rectangle. And I know some of you may know this, but if you don't, I will show you how easy it is to make this shape. And all you're going to need, like I said, is a rectangle. And I have one here. And this one measures 3 by 4¼ Now, on my corresponding blog post, you will find this handy dandy chart that I just wrote out by hand. And it shows you exactly what to do. Now, this triangle came from a piece of cardstock that's 3¾ by 5. So what you want to do, you want to measure across the short end, the smallest end, and you have to find the middle. So you need to know what this measures. How wide is this? And this one happens to be 3¾ Well, half of 3¾ is 1 7/8. So you take your ruler and you just measure over to 1 7/8, and then you mark that. Then you're going to line this mark up with this corner in your trimmer and trim it. Then line the mark up with this corner and trim it. Or if you care to, you can draw out the lines and then cut it with your scissors. So let's walk through that. Like I said, the one that I have here is 3 by 4¼ So half of 3 excuse me, is 1 1/2. So we're going to put the ruler here. We're going to get a pen. And there is 1 1/2. And I'm just going to put a mark right here. I'm going to make it so you can see it, I hope. Can you see that one? Oops. That is, I don't know, something on the paper. But there is my mark. So now I'm going to try something I've not done before. I have this little trimmer, and I've never cut angles on this trimmer, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to line up that dot, and then the corner, and we're going to cut. And now we have the dot. We're going to line that up and get the corner in the cutting track. Actually, I'm going to go This is a little trick I learned. If you're cutting points that need to be sharp, don't start at one end or the other. Start in the middle and then go back. So anyway, there is our little triangle tree. Like I said, it is an isosceles triangle because it has two sides the same and one that is not. Or they're equal. But then all you need to do is decide what you want to do with it. So on my card, I decided to keep it simple, and I just cut strips of paper and I put adhesive on this. You could put an adhesive sheet if you want. You can just put adhesive on it. You can put a little bit of glue on each strip as you glue them. I think, yeah, these are 1/2 inch, but you can make them whatever size you want. And then I just glued them all the way down. I made a little trunk. The trunk I glued down to the card base, and then this tree is actually on dimensionals. Now, another card I made that I really don't like, but I was so excited because I had all these were scraps. This, I had this piece of cardstock. I had this frame was in my scrap bin. This background with the snowflakes was in my scrap bin. So I was so happy about that. And I put this card together, and then I didn't like it. Can I put a greeting? Should I not put a greeting? And then I put some embellishments on it. But I do like the technique. So I just cut it in strips, and I believe these, let me see, they may be 1/2 inch too. I think they are. Nope, they're 3/4. And yeah, because I ended up not using the very bottom one. But anyway, I put this one on dimensional. I adhered this one directly to the card base. Dimensional, card base, dimensional, card base. And it gave it a really nice texture. So there's my card I don't like. And then here's the one I'm really happy with. So those are just a couple of ideas for the little, like I said, kindergarten triangle tree. Now, the next card, the next thing I did, I have a set of dies that cuts out triangles. These happen to be equilateral triangles, and I just cut out a bunch and stacked them. These I just adhered directly to the card base. These I backed with cardstock. I just cut my paper and cardstock for each triangle at the same time and adhered them together because I just thought they needed a little, it kind of gave them a little bit of dimension without using dimensionals. And then I made a little trunk, of course. Now the background on this one, I used blending brushes, and I wanted it to look like a cloudy, snowy day out in the, in the winter out in the woods, but I didn't like it. It was missing something. And that's when I remembered I can make snow. So I took a piece of white cardstock that was the width of my card, and I just tore it. And then I went back and, do I need to tear it more? And I tore it a little bit more. And then I got this nice little snow cover for my ground in my little scene here on the card. Now, if you don't have these dies, and they are retired, I got these from Stampin' Up. And if you don't have any triangle dies at all, well, just like it's easy to make an isosceles triangle, it's really easy to make an equilateral triangle. And I do have another, on my blog, there'll be this little chart. And the process is exactly the same as for the isosceles triangle. The only difference is you use squares. This one's 3/4 inch, 1 inch. See, I just went up 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1.5. You can go up 1/2 inch if you like. It's just whatever you like. And it's, again, the same thing. You find the midpoint on one side. Since these sides are all equal, it doesn't matter which one. And then you simply cut from that midpoint to the corner, then from midpoint to the corner. And you can create 4, you can create 5. This one I used 4. This one I used 5. But you can use as many as you like. And I was just really happy with the results. And I was also happy because I was able to use more of this paper. I think some of you may remember a while back, I pulled out a little bag of scraps, this specific designer paper from Stampin' Up! From 3, maybe even 4 years ago. And I had purchased 2 or 3 packages of it because I loved it. So now I have all these scraps. In the past couple of years, I've been trying to use them up. I still have a ways to go, but I did make use of some more of them for these 2 cards. So then the next card I decided to do, I had washi tape. And I just realized I didn't get my washi tape out. But what I did was I die cut an image, in my case, a tree, and I cut it right out of the center of a card panel. And then I cut a plain piece of cardstock that was 1/4 inch smaller. So for example, this piece is 4 by 5 1/4. So the piece underneath that I put the washi tape on is 3 3/4 by 5. Now this one is a little smaller. I think it's this one's 3 3/4 by 5. So this would be 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. And all I did, just similar to what the strips on the first card, I just put my washi tape down. And if you'll give me 1 second, I will get my washi tape. Now, here is my box with tons of washi tape. All kinds in there. I think this one has the Christmas ones. Yeah. So let's get a couple designs. Okay. And I'm going to use this. And all you have to do, after you find the end of your washi tape, is you just put it right across there. And then you fold these ends back. And then you take your next piece. Just line it right up. Just put it right up to the next one. And then you just continue on. I'm really surprised some of these still have sticky on them because I've had them for years. Some of them I've had for years. Some of them are a little newer. And you just keep going. And then you can adhere this. Here, let's move. You can adhere this piece to the back of this piece. And then what I did, I took this focal mat here after I had adhered the washi tape panel to the back, and I ran it through an embossing machine, or a embossing folder on my die cut machine. And you can probably see the texture. I just wanted to give it something just barely noticeable, but yet something that did add a little texture. And then it was just a matter of putting that piece on a card base, giving it a greeting, and adding a little bit of embellishments to it. And then I had so much fun with that I did a second one, but this one was ornaments. And these I die cut with a circle die. I had my panel. I stamped it. I wanted this to look like a branch of a Christmas tree, as you can probably tell. And after I stamped my greenery, I took my die and I just die cut the 3 holes. You could use a punch because most punches will fit. And remember, this is just a single sheet of cardstock. It wasn't on the card base. Most punches would fit here and here and here. And since it's a circle, it doesn't matter how you orient the punch. So again, I just took, instead of 1 piece of cardstock, I just cut 3 smaller ones, put the washi tape on them, and then adhered them behind the die cut holes. And these little ornament toppers, it's a die. And if you don't have something like that, first of all, I just urge you to look through your things because you just might have something. But if not, just cut a small rectangle of cardstock, and then on top of that you can use some twine or ribbon and just make a little bow, or just tie a little bow and adhere it to the top of the ornament, and that will look just as nice. So there is that card, and of course once I got these on the back of this card panel, that's when I did the Merry Christmas, put it on this card base, and then of course added some little gold pearls. So those are my washi tape cards. Now, the next thing I did, like I said, I happened to find actually a little envelope, and in that envelope there were some squares of window sheet or acetate. And you can buy sheets of this, but also if you get photopolymer stamps, sometimes there is a blank sheet of this included, and that's what this is. I just cleaned it off with alcohol wipe and let it air dry. And so here it is, and I decided I was going to make an ornament, like right here, and I decided to use what they call a floating image technique. Only on my card, these two don't seem to be so floating because I did adhere them directly to the card. This one may be a little because I popped it up on dimensionals, but I just thought it looked like an ornament. It looked like, you know, colored glass and then glass, clear glass between. So how I did that, I decided the die I wanted to use, the circle die. I think it would be difficult to use a punch with this because it's heavy, it's heavier. And actually I had to run it through my die cut machine and back to get it cut. But I thought, okay, here is the size ornament I want. It fits inside the square of window sheet very nicely. So I laid it down on my craft sheet with the cutting side down. And then I put this right on top of it. And I used this die cut to help me figure out where to put my strips. And then I just used some, what kind of adhesive? I think, oh, I used the Stampin' Seal Plus because I wanted it to, it's strong and I really wanted it to stay on that window sheet. So I just kind of got my adhesive on there. Wind it up. Then let's find a different design maybe. These are all the scraps I had left over after I made those, so they're kind of getting to the point where they're all alike. But anyway, you just leave a bit of a space. You can leave more than that, less than that, that's up to you. Then you just continue putting your strips on and leaving that little space. And that's the same. It looks like this one's going to need one more strip to complete it. And these strips, let's see, how wide are they? These are 1/2 inch. And then I just lift this up and place this on here and run it through the die cut machine, and you will get your ornaments. Now when I adhered this one, you can probably tell it was hanging over, just trim it. And so there I have my 3 ornaments. Again, I used that die, but like I said, you could cut a little rectangle and put a little ribbon on it, or just put a ribbon. So, like I said, this was me using up my, as I call it, bits and pieces. And these are the cards that I made doing that. We have the floating image, we have the washi tape ones, and then of course the triangle ones, and then my weird one. But so there you have it. Those are my cards for this week. I thank you for joining me. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a corresponding blog post where I have those charts that I showed you, supplies that I used, measurements, and how I created these cards. And the link to that blog post is found in the description of this video. Until next time, stamp happy.